Who are the leaders that you interviewed? Why do you consider them to be ethical leaders? Why do you consider these individuals to be leaders? And how does your definition of leadership and ethical leadership apply to these individuals? The leaders that we interviewed were Sam Stapleton, a professor here at MSU and a faculty advisor of Phi Beta Lambda, and we also interviewed Tanya Arnott Ward, which is the McGoffin County Circuit Court Clerk. We consider both of these leaders to be ethical because of the high regard that they both hold in their job positions and the trust that is put in them by their followers. These leaders show high moral standards and they set an example for their followers. We consider Professor Stapleton to be a leader because he has had many experiences in his career where he has held leadership positions and managerial positions. He is also an emergent leader in many situations because people look to him for guidance. Tanya Ward is one of the most respected and well-liked public officials in McGoffin County. She has held her position as county court clerk for many years and has continued to be re-elected because she has proven to be truthful, compassionate, and respectful to her followers, community members, and in her personal relationships. Both Sam Stapleton and Tanya Ward work with individuals, whether it be students, faculty, or members of the community, on a daily basis to achieve a common goal. Sam Stapleton teaches management along with other business courses here at MSU and is also in charge of being the faculty advisor of Phi Beta Lambda, which entails providing guidance to the club on a variety of issues and occasions. In Tanya's role as circuit court clerk in McGoffin County, she is in charge of organizing the daily tasks of coworkers that are beneath her so that they can provide the services that their office specializes in. Not only does Tanya organize tasks as a manager might, but she also motivates her employees with optimism and enthusiasm about helping people.
How would you describe their general leadership style? We feel that both Sam Stapleton and Tanya Arnott Ward practice leadership skills that show that they have a democratic leadership style. The democratic leadership style is one where subordinates are involved in making their decisions, but the leader holds the final responsibility. Sam mentions that he does not want to be viewed as a dictator or an authoritative figure to his employees, but rather be accommodating and work with them.
I've always found it's best to try to work with people as much as possible and not be dictatorial or authoritative. A lot of folks, when you're thrust into some specifically like a managerial role, they think that, well, I'm the boss, you have to do as I say, and there's a time and place where sometimes you do have to make a decision and say, well, I understand that, I appreciate your point of view, but this is the way we're going to need to go with this. And don't be afraid to do that. Maybe right, maybe wrong, but you learn from the mistake and move on. So, I guess that's kind of my style, leadership style or managerial style.
Tanya mentioned in our interview that when her subordinates are confused about something or have a question regarding any task, she wants them to come to her and ask. She also delegates authority to others so that they can finish what she asks of them. She would be the final decision maker on all issues, but still continues to promote an environment where communication is active in both directions. This further proves she practices a democratic leadership style.
Like everyone I've interviewed, I always tell them, don't do anything wrong. Don't do anything wrong. I'll never ask you to do anything wrong. Don't you ever do anything wrong. If you think that, if you have a question about anything, bring it to me. And they do all the time. Can I do this? Is this right? Can I, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They do that all the time. I tell them, no matter what happens, you always be honest. You always tell the truth and you don't ever do anything that's not right.
What are some of the leadership theories that we can better understand from our interviews? One leadership theory that we feel we better understand from our interviews with Stapleton would be the contingency theory. The contingency theory argues that there is no single way to approach a leadership situation, but rather the type of leadership is based on the specific of the situation itself. Sam mentioned that a challenge he faces is working with people in general, because each person learning process and needs wants are different depending on the situation. This gives us more insight on how the contingency theory can be applied to a leadership role.
Regardless, it's all about people. I mean, you're having to deal with people. Not a lot to manage when you're dealing with machines. They'll run themselves. But, if you can't interact with people, and that's one of the daily challenges. I mean, just dealing with people and all the intricacies and the different personalities, and you know, you can't, you folks will learn that how you address an issue with one individual may be handled much differently with another individual. It takes different things to motivate people.
After our interview with Tony Arndt-Ward, we think we have a better understanding of the trait theory of leadership. Tony mentions that she believes her leadership ability stem from her personality traits that she inherited from her father, who was also a leader in our community. She also mentioned in another point that she believes some people are born leaders.
I think that I think I think people are born to be leaders, but I also think that people can become good
Right.
leaders. You know what I'm saying? I do think some people are better leaders than others, and they do better job. But I do think even if you weren't a natural born
Right.
leader, you could still lead. I can lead or follow. If you put me in a group, if you need me to follow and you would be the leader, I'm good with that as long as you're doing the right thing and we're good. Or if you just like you need to do it, I'm like, okay, I can do it. I can, you know what I'm saying? I'm
Yeah.
a good follower if it's
Right.
going for if I'm standing for the right thing, or I'm a good leader if you need me
Right.
to lead.
What are some leadership challenges that you might expect to face in the future, and how have these leaders handled these challenges? Some leadership challenges we think that we should expect to face in the future will be dealing with others challenging your ethics and testing the lengths at which you will go to please others. Azuz and myself are both accounting majors. In our future occupations, it is very likely that we will be faced with unethical clients. Tanya Ward, being a public official, talks to us about how she has been faced with members of the community or even friends of hers asking her to do things she cannot do either ethically or even legally. We hear from her about how we must make sure not to let our personal relationships cloud our judgment, and we must also follow our own moral compass to do the right thing in situations such as these.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. People have asked for things you cannot give them.
Right.
You know, and it's like, you know, I can't do that. That's illegal, or
Yeah.
or you're not a part. That's confidential, or you know, I can't do that. Oh, well, I always treat people, you know, with compassion, and I have empathy for people, and I treat all people the same. It doesn't matter, you know, if they're poor people or if they're people who are rich. They all get the same service. They get good service. You know what I'm saying?
Professor Stapleton also mentions it can become challenging to differentiate between work and personal relationships. He went on to tell us how at one point in his career he even had to go as far as being a part in the termination of a coworker who was also a friend. The terminated worker acted unethically in their job position, which put Sam in a position that tested his own ethics.
Ethics issues related to employees, you know, that is troublesome because you want to, you know, you get to work with people and you get to know people and you feel, you know, very positively to them. I was never one of these people that kind of hung out on the weekend with folks. We have managers that did that, and I wasn't opposed to that, but I wasn't kind of a, hey, let's all go hang out this weekend. I just thought that may cause issues somewhere down the road. But there's been a couple of occasions, I'll be quite honest with you, I had to discipline people or, you know, reprimand individuals, or in a couple of cases actually sever their employment to people that, you know, I was pretty close to. And that was, you know, I actually was involved in the dismissal of my boss at one time. So that's not something a lot of people can say, and that was not, and I do not brag about that, was not fun, and to this day I still have issues with that. But, you know, here again, it was an ethics issue. He violated the company ethical code, and, you know, there was really no other option. And it was also...
What are some things that help these individuals to develop as leaders and that we could learn from them to develop as leaders? Some of the things that have helped Sam Stapleton develop as a leader would be his upbringing. He mentioned that many of his relationships throughout his life played a part in him making the leader he is today. Whether it was strong bonds such as family or short relationships like the one he had with a high school teacher that left a big impact. He says you should always remember what you've learned from them. We believe that this is a good example of how, as future leaders, we should take the opportunity we are given to learn from the leaders that surround us.
And then role models come along, starting, in high school. I had a business teacher, Mr. Clark. I will never forget him. He was a track and field coach. He was about 6.5 foot tall, very big guy, and I probably learned more from him than many other people. Folks here at the university, folks at other institutions, other universities that I've had experience with, bosses that I've had. It's really interesting. You have those relationships with people, and sometimes they're fairly brief, weeks, months at a time, but you take something away from that, and you try to keep the best parts of that. So
Tanya's education provides her a strong background for her leadership role. Before she became a public official, she worked in our county as a teacher. Although the two types of leader roles are very different, her education and past experience helped to develop her as a leader she is today. We believe this example can help us develop as leaders because it shows us we need to utilize the different leadership skills we will learn from each job position we will be in our lives. It also shows that our education will provide us with a background in leadership that will be useful in our future.
Well, I worked for my dad as his bookkeeper, and then I watched him, be a public servant for 25 years, and then teaching. You kind of went through teaching, and then but I just thought, this is something I'd love to do.
What is one principle of leadership that we can learn from the individuals that you interview? The principle that we feel that was most prominently represented in Professor Stapleton's interview was having a vision for what you want to accomplish. Professor Stapleton wanted to make sure that we understood how important it is to have a vision and stick to it when trying to accomplish a goal. We should try our best to work on our verbal communication skills and make sure that we are able to communicate our vision to employees above or below us that will be involved in helping us accomplish our goal.
Hopefully having a vision and that could, visions are coming many different sizes and many different directions, but your vision may be to have the best ice cream parlor on that street corner, or it may be you want to lead a country or a state or a major corporation. So having some type of vision I think is extraordinarily important, and then trying to communicate that successfully to your individual followers, employees, or however you want to describe them, so that everybody's kind of working in the same direction. It's so easy to get sidetracked many times. So, you got to keep everybody, what we used to refer to as on task. And that sounds like a laborer type, but it just meant stay focused. Just stay focused on what we're going to do. There's so many distractions, especially in the business world, that you need to zero in on what it is you're trying to accomplish.
One principle of leadership that we can learn from Tanya would be setting the example. In her interview, she mentions that she feels very strongly that the leader must act in a way that they want their followers to act. By setting a positive example for her subordinates, Tanya creates a standard that people beneath her must strive to uphold. She feels that leading by example is the most powerful tool in getting your employees to be positive and enthusiastic about the job that they are doing. We should obviously seek to be the type of employee we wish to have working for us, but one thing we must try to avoid is having a hypocritical attitude about the tasks we assign. We should always be willing to perform any task that we would assign to another worker. We should develop a positive attitude and outlook on any job that we plan to obtain in the future.
Yeah, I think you just lead by example. You just lead by example. You do what you want them to do, and they'll usually follow and follow your lead. Have a good attitude and be optimistic, and I think every you get up, you have a decision. You can make it a great day and do good things and be happy, or you can make it a Debbie Downer day. Because when you have people in your life like that, you will work with people. You may work for people who are Debbie Downers. You'll definitely work with people, but you still stay positive. You still let your light shine, and hopefully, you may rub off on them a little bit.